My name is Stan Slovin, as Julie mentioned. I am in Chicago, Illinois, and I am a new author. My book, which is called Better Listening. So, this is what it looks like: The Secret to Improving Your Professional and Personal Life. So, came out in September of last year, and with the amazing help of book launchers, we were able to bring out the book. One day, about 10 years ago, I realized that, the world was kind of busy and everyone's multitasking, and our attentions were, short, and we're constantly distracted. The world is just full of distractions. And I realized that conversations were starting to really get lost in terms of that we were just cutting each other off all the time. We were constantly thinking about what we wanted to say while other people were talking. We were hijacking conversations, and we were really not letting people really empty their buckets. We were like listening to respond versus listening to understand. I thought, you know what, boy, we need a book on better listening so that we can create just more impactful conversations, just have more meaningful dialogues, and actually deeper discussions. And I thought that would be a great way to help not only people in the professional world, which is I'm in the professional world for 31 years, but also personal relationships that really just, the cry for being heard more and just helping people just have a better communication with each other. I would say that I learned a lot about myself. I really did. This was a new process. All of us, obviously, today, we've had our successes in areas, and then we wanted to put it down on paper. We wanted to become that author. And I would say that I probably really needed to hone in on understanding that it was a new process. So I had to learn to compromise a little bit more. I had to learn and relearn about patience and understanding, because that was not my world. Writing a book, when you put it in hands, especially with a company like Book Launchers and Julie's team, which was, again, it was phenomenal. You have to learn that that's not your life. That's not what you're used to. That's not your profession and how you handle things. Like Max, how he did it with his business. And so big thing was the patience, the compromising, understanding that it was a new world. And also the last thing was trust. I really had to learn a new area. I'm very trusting, and sometimes that's a good and a challenge. But you have to trust those that were taking you through this process. And the key thing was for them to be able to communicate those steps. I think those were the three big things: trust, communication, patience, and a little bit of just understanding compromise. I would definitely be thinking about the world after the publishing of the next book. So I will tell you that I think that life begins not really on getting your book published. I view it, I'm very sports oriented, and I kind of think about football all the time, in terms of like the red zone, getting it over that goal line. And I think that that's one of the things that sometimes new authors are focusing on. They're so close, they have the draft, they're in the process, like that, but they're just not getting it over the goal line. It's taking time, and you need help. And this is where, again, our friends from Book Launchers, I think that's how I viewed it, is like they got me over the goal line. They literally got me published. But that really was just the beginning of my journey. That was not my goal only, was to just get published. It was to really figure out how to get that message out. And I think that if I did book number 2, I would realize that you have to have a partnership with your publisher. You can't rely on your publisher only to do your marketing, and you definitely cannot rely on yourself, because you don't have necessarily the expertise. Even if you have 80-85% of expertise in marketing your own book, there's always that 15 or even 20% that you don't even think about. So for example, podcasts, I don't do a podcast, but I've been on already 7 to 9 podcasts. And I would have never been able to do that unless I would have had avenues. Getting your book on Amazon and different, distribution lines, yeah, you could figure it out. You could do research, but you want to. And if I did my second book, or when I do my second book, I think that the process is going to be quicker in terms of after the writing. In fact, that's what I would take away from, if your audience took something away from publishing, that's just part one. Life begins after that book. And I think that I would do differently is I want to work on how do I get that book out? Whether it's podcasts, speaking engagements. Here, I'll give you another one, Book in the Box, where Book Launcher says, hey, do a video of opening your box on the day your book arrives. I thought, oh God, that's so stupid. That's so hokey. That's so corny. That's like probably my most viewed thing on my website. Okay, is everybody seeing the excitement of Stan opening up Better Listening, okay? Because you get to tell this excitement, because people they really do. People love to share in your excitement. They want to share in your journey. The other thing is, think about also your network of friends and your marketing of friends and family who you want to. That book army, I would go over that video over and over and listen to Julie's video and this team's video because it gets you out on Facebook and social media, all the different avenues that you're not used to necessarily because you're a first time author. You've never really promoted. So that's what I would do differently. I would be thinking about marketing your book army, how to get it out so that when it does get published, that's the beginning of the fun journey, not the end of the task. I think that what worked really well from the marketing standpoint was that we were working together. Again, like I said, this was a book that was trying to get into the industry, into the professional and the personal. So Angela and Roy and everybody on the team really came together and kind of helped me script what I was going to kind of promote, what I was going to communicate. And really, I think we took a three-pronged approach. One, we were trying to see how we can get in front of live and in person, so book signings. So, from a marketing, getting in front of some chambers of commerce and audiences. The second one, which Book Launchers does, again, they're amazing at it. I don't have the professional experience or the skill set, but reaching out to the medias that could read your book, review your book, invite you to be on podcasts. And that's really, I think, what we really learned a lot together in the beginning part was that one, patience, compromise, and being understanding that you're in a new world. It doesn't happen overnight, but over the time, over the last 4 or 5 months that I've been doing this with Book Launchers, every month I'm getting signed up for 3 or 4 new podcasts. I'm going in front of new speaking engagements. I'm getting ideas. The ideas that came from Book Launchers because of their experience or their skill set or what they have seen work and not really helped me open up my eyes of like what we should be spending our time doing. Shane, who was working on the marketing, he's like, listen, let's try to get this out by creating some key words or focus words that people will see. And I forgot if it's called imprints or algorithms, but 100 to 200,000 hits or touches, and all of a sudden every month we were getting another like 20, 30, 40, 50 books being sold because of things being caught up. So areas that I took advantage of that I never had exposure to was one, letting Book Launchers utilize their experience. This is the key. If you are an author and you are looking to do signings or speaking, or you want to be on a podcast, or you want to coach, or you want to do meetings in your industry, or you want to reach out, like Trent was saying, to different communities that may be affected, their ability to identify, their ability to target market, and their ability to campaign your book through the right search engines and the right search words, the modes of receiving was incredibly very strong. So, that was kind of like from a marketing and branding standpoint. And just as a note, moving on even today, I'm only 6 months in, or 5.5, 6 months in. And I will tell you that I'm getting now calls and I'm getting emails asking me, hey, I saw you on this podcast. Would you like to be on our podcast? Or, hey, I have a buddy that runs a podcast on leadership, and I just did one last week in London and leadership. Okay, I don't know about you, but I've never been on an international podcast before in my life before writing this book. And now I've been on 2 internationals because I guess listening is important also in Europe. I just realized that. And listening is also important in South America. I just realized that. My point is that, don't limit yourself on just your little niche. Allow Book Launchers to expand the potential of reaching markets and audiences that you didn't even think about, and work with them, collaborate, give your input, give your fee, let them share. And I think that you'll see very quickly some great venues to use your marketing and branding. This cover is all because of Book Launchers. I had like in my mind, I was like, better listening, like big red letters, or big black letters. And they're like, Stan, maybe we could come up with something different. Like, no, 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 I want like better listening, and I was so stubborn and really working with the team, not just with like Sarah and Nicole and Angela, but even a call from Julie. And Julie says, you may want to listen and you should take your own advice about, better listening. And you should maybe let us look at a cover. They came back, and I am telling you, this cover is because of them. It has been so well received, and the positive comments. So sometimes even when you get really entrenched in that writing process, you got to step back and give them a chance to share some of their wisdom and their best practices. That's what I would call it, their best practices. It was a 1-year process. I would clearly set expectations. Set expectations of what you are trying to accomplish in the time frame that you're trying to accomplish it. Have big picture expectations and have also your short term. Number two, be clear. Be clear on what you want so that you can communicate that to book launchers. And also be clear to understand what they want to do to help you. And listen, my book is all about active, reflective listening. But my one little plug for my book is the difference is that it adds empathy. It adds empathy into the art of listening, which means you have to find out what's most important to them to help you, but you have to share with them what is most important to you with regards to a relationship with working with a publisher, and let them hear what's important and go through that and dig deeper so that not only are you optimistic, but then you're realistic. So optimistic is that you're writing the book. Realistic is the process of actually writing that book. Number four, be patient. Be patient, but be proactive. Be patient because you don't know that it takes time and it takes research and it takes a collaboration on book launchers' part to sit and to look what you're trying to achieve. They have to go over that, and it doesn't always come back right away. But you also have to be proactive to make sure that if there's an issue or you have a concern, they need to know that, because if you don't, they won't know. And that's a really good back and forth. And then finally, when you're checking in, remember, it's your book, it's your name, it's your reputation, but it's not all about you. It's about a team effort. And I would say those are my 4 or 5 areas.